Bien pretty. Ya me voy. Ay, te dejo en San Antonio. Flaco Jimenez. He wasn't pretty unless you were in love with him. Then any time you met anyone with those same monkey eyes, that burnt sugar skin, the face wider than it was long, well, you were in for it. His family came from Michoacan. All chaparritos, every one of them, short even by Mexican standards, but to me he was perfect. I'm to blame. Flavio Munguia was just an ordinary Flavio until he met me. I filled up his head with 1,000,001 cariñitos. Then he was ruined forever. Walked different, looked people in the eye when he talked, ran his eyes across every pair of nalgas and chichis he saw. I am sorry. Once you tell a man he's pretty, there's no taking it back. They think they're pretty all the time, and I suppose, in a way, they are. It's got to do with believing it, just the way I used to believe I was pretty, before Flavio Munguia wore all my prettiness away. Don't think I haven't noticed my girlfriends back home who got the good lookers. They all look twice their age now, old from all the corajes exploding inside their hearts and bellies. Because a pretty man is like a too fancy car, or a real good stereo, or a microwave oven. Late or early, sooner or later, you're just asking for it. Know what I mean? Flavio, he wrote poems and signed them Rogelio Velasco. And maybe I would still be in love with him if he wasn't already married to 2 women, one in Tampico and the other in Matamoros. Well, that's what they say. Who knows why the universe singled me out? Lupe Arredondo, stupid art thou amongst all women. Once I was as solid as a sailor on her sea legs, the days rolling steadily beneath me, and then Flavio Munguia arrived. Flavio entered my life via a pink circular rolled into a tube and wedged in the front gate curlicue. A special promotion! La cucaracha apachurrada pest control. Over 10 years of experience. If you are tired of roaches and hate them like many people do, but can't afford to pay a lot of money to have a house free of roaches, we will treat your kitchen, behind and under your refrigerator and stove, inside your cabinets, and even exterminate your living room, all for only $20. Don't be fooled by the price. Call now, 555-2049 or beeper 555-5912. We also kill spiders, beetles, scorpions, ants, fleas, and many more insects. So don't hesitate. Call us now. You'll be glad you did call us. Thank you very much. Your cucarachas will be dead. $5 extra for each additional room. A dead cockroach lying on its back followed his illustration. It's because of the river and the palm and pecan trees and the humidity and all that we have so many palmetto bugs. Roaches so big they look like Pleistocene. I never seen anything like them before. We don't have bugs like that in California, at least not in the Bay. But like they say, everything's bigger and better in Texas, and that holds especially true for bugs. So I live near the river in one of those houses with wood floors varnished the color of Coca-Cola. It isn't mine. It belongs to Iracema Isaura Coronado, a famous Texas poet who carries herself as if she is directly descended from Micathuatl or something. Her husband is an honest-to-God huichol, curandero, and she's no slouch either, with a PhD from the Sorbonne. A Fulbright whisked them to Nayarit for a year, and that's how I got to live here in the turquoise house on East Gunther, not exactly in the heart of the historic King William district. It's on the wrong side of South Alamo to qualify, the side where the peasantry lives, but close enough to the royal mansions that attract every hour on the hour the Pepto-Bismol pink tourist buses wearing sombreros. I called La Cucaracha Apurada Pest Control the first month I house-sat Her Highness's home. I was sharing residence with 8 Oaxacan black pottery pieces, signed Diego Rivera monotype, upright piano, star-shaped piñata, 5 strings of red Chile lights, antique Spanish shawl, St. Jacques Mahur Haitian voodoo banner, cappuccino maker, lemon wood olinala table, replica of the goddess Coatlicue, life-size papier-mâché skeleton signed by the Linares family, Frida Kahlo altar, punch tin Virgin de Guadalupe chandelier, bentwick couch with Mexican sarape, cushions, 17th century Spanish retablo, tree of life candlestick, Santa Fe plate rack, 2 identical sets of vintage Talavera Mexican dishware. I have got crucifix, knotty pine armoire, pie safe, death mask of Pancho Villa with mouth slightly open, Tejana chair upholster and cowskin with longhorn horns for the arms and legs, 7 Afghan throw rugs, iron bed with a mosquito net canopy. Beneath this veneer of southwest funk of lace and silk and porcelain, beyond the embroidered pillows that said duerme mi amor, the Egyptian cotton sheets and the eyelets spread, the sigh of air that barely set the gauze bedroom curtains trembling, the blue garden, the pink hydrangea, the gilt-edged tea set, the abalone-handled silver, the obsidian hair combs, the sticky cough medicine and powdered sugar scent of magnolia blossoms, there were, as well, the roaches. I was afraid to open drawers. I never went into the kitchen after dark. They were the same Coca-Cola color as the floors, hard to spot unless they gave themselves away in panic. The worst thing about them wasn't their size, nor the crunch they gave under the shoe, nor the yellow grease that oozed from their guts, nor the thin shells they shed translucent as popcorn hulls, nor the possibility they might be winged and fly into your hair. No. What made them unbearable was this, the scuttling in the middle of the night. An ugly clubfoot grate like a dead thing being dragged across the floor, a louder-than-life munching during their cannibal rites, a nervous pitter and then patter when they scurried across the Irish linen table runners, leaving a trail of black droppings like coffee grounds, sticky feet rustling across the clean stack of typewriter paper in the desk drawer, my primed canvases, the set of Wedgwood rose teacups, the lace Victorian wedding dress hanging on the bedroom wall, the dried baby's breath, the white wicker vanity, the cutwork pillowcases, your raven blue hair scented with tres flores brillantine. Flavio, it's true. The house charms me now as it did then. The folk art, the tangerine-colored walls, the urracas at sunset. But what would you have done if you were me? I'd driven all the way from Northern California to Central Texas with my past pair down to what could fit inside a van. A futon, a stainless steel wok, my grandmother's molcajete, a pair of flamenco shoes with crooked heels, 11 huipiles, 2 rebosos de bolita y de seda, my taekwondo uniform, my crystals and copal, a portable boombox and all my Latin tapes, Rubén Blades, Astor Piazzolla, Gypsy Kings, Inti Illimani, Violeta Parra, Mercedes Sosa, Agustín Lara, Trio Los Panchos, Pedro Infante, Lidia Mendoza, Paco de Lucía, Lola Beltrán, Silvio Rodríguez, Celia Cruz, Juan Peña, El Lebrijano, Los Lobos, Lucha Villa, Dr. Loco and his original corrido boogie band. Sure, I knew I was heading for trouble the day I agreed to come to Texas, but not even the I Ching warned me what I was in for when Flavio Munguia drove up in the pest control van. Texas? What are you going to do there? Beatriz Solis asked this, a criminal lawyer by day, an Aztec dance instructor by night, and my closest comadre in all the world. Beatriz and I go back a long way, back to the grape boycott demonstrations in front of the Berkeley Safeway, and I mean the first grape strike. I thought I'd give Texas a year, maybe. At least that. Can't be that bad. A year? Lupe, are you crazy? They still lynch Mexicans down there. Everybody's got chainsaws and gun racks and pickups and Confederate flags. Aren't you scared? Girlfriend, you watch too many John Wayne movies. To tell the truth, Texas did scare the hell out of me. All I knew about Texas was it was big, it was hot, and it was bad. Added to this was my mama's term, tejanote, for tejano, which is sort of like Texessive, in a redneck kind of way. It was one of those tejanotes that started it, Mama would say. You know how they are, always looking for a fight. I'd said yes to an art director's job at a community cultural center in San Antonio. Eduardo and I had split For good. C'est finis. End of the road, buddy. Adios y suerte. San Francisco is too small a town to go around dragging your three-legged hearts. Café Picaro was off limits because it was Eddie's favorite. I stopped frequenting the Café Bohème too. Missed several good openings at La Galeria, not because I was afraid of running into Eddie, but because I was terrified of confronting La Otra, my nemesis, in other words, a financial consultant for Merrill Lynch, a blonde. Eddie, who I'd supported with waitress jobs that summer, we were both struggling to pay our college loans and the rent on that tiny apartment on Balmy, big enough when we were in love, but too small when love was scarce. Eddie, who I met the year before I started teaching at the community college, the year after he gave up community organizing and worked part-time as a paralegal. Eddie, who taught me how to salsa, who lectured me night and day about human rights in Guatemala, El Salvador, Chile, Argentina, South Africa, but never said a word about the rights of blacks in Oakland, the kids of the Tenderloin, the women who shared his bed. Eduardo, my Eddie, that Eddie, with a blonde. He didn't even have the decency to pick a woman of color. A month hadn't passed since I unpacked the van, but I'd already convinced myself San Antonio was a mistake. I couldn't understand how any Spanish priest in his right mind decided to sit right down in the middle of nowhere and build a mission with no large body of water for miles. I'd always lived near the ocean. I felt landlocked and dusty. The light so white it left me dizzy, sun bleached as an onion. In the bay, whenever I got depressed, I always drove out to Ocean Beach, just to sit. And I don't know, something about looking at water, how it just goes and goes and goes. Something about that I found very soothing. As if somehow I were connected to every ripple that was sending itself out and out until it reached another shore. But I hadn't found anything to replace it in San Antonio. I wondered what San Antonians did. I was putting in 60-hour work weeks at the art center. No time left to create art when I came home. I'd made a bad habit of crumpling into the couch after work, drinking half a Corona, and eating a bag of Hawaiian potato chips for dinner. All the lights in the house blazing when I woke in the middle of the night. Hair crooked as a broom, face creased into a mean origami, clothes wrinkled as the citizens of bus stations. The day the pink circulars appeared, I woke up from one of these naps to find a bug crunching away on Hawaiian chips and another pickled inside my beer bottle. I called La Cucaracha Apachurada the next morning. So while you are spraying baseboards, the hose hissing, the gold pump clicking, bending into cupboards, reaching under sinks, the leather utility belt slung loose around your hips, I'm thinking you might be the perfect Prince Popo for a painting I've had kicking around in my brain. I'd always wanted to do an updated version of the Prince Popocatépetl / Princess Ixtac-Itl volcano myth, that tragic love story metamorphosized from classic to kitsch calendar art, like the ones you get at Carniceria Jimenez or Tortilleria La Guadalupanita. Prince Popo, half-naked Indian warrior built like Johnny Weissmuller, crouched in grief beside his sleeping princess Ixtac-Hicuatl, buxom as the Indian Jane Mansfield, and behind them, echoing their silhouettes, their namesake volcanoes. Hell, I could do better than that. It'd be fun. And you might be just the Prince Popo I've been waiting for, with that face of a sleeping Olmec, the heavy oriental eyes, the thick lips and wide nose, that profile carved from onyx. The more I think about it, the more I like the idea. Would you like to work for me as a model? Excuse? I mean, I'm an artist. I need models. Sometimes to model, for a painting. I thought you would be good, because you have such a wonderful face. Flavio laughed. I laughed too. We both laughed. We laughed, and then we laughed some more. And when we were through with our laughing, he packed up his ant traps, spray tanks, steel wool, clicked and latched and locked trays, toolboxes, slammed van doors shut, laughed, and drove away. There is everything but a washer and dryer at the house on East Gunther. So every Sunday morning, I stuff all my dirty clothes into pillowcases and haul them out to the van, then drive over to the Quick Wash on South Presa. I don't mind it, really. I almost like it, because across the street is the Torres Taco Haven. This is taco country. I can load up 5 washers at a time if I get up early enough, go have a coffee and a Haven taco, potatoes, chile, and cheese. Then a little later throw everything in the dryer and go back for a second cup of coffee and the Torres special, bean, cheese, guacamole, and bacon, flour tortilla, please. But one morning in between the wash and dry cycles, while I ran out to reload the machines, someone had bogarted my table, the window booth next to the jukebox. I was about to get mad and say so, until I realized it was the prince. Remember me, 618 on Gunther? He looked as if he couldn't remember what he was supposed to remember, then laughed that laugh, like blackbirds startled from the corn. Still a good joke, but I was serious. I really am a painter. And in reality, I am a poet, he said. De poeta y loco todos tenemos un poco, no? But if you ask my mother, she would say I'm more loco than poeta. Unfortunately, poetry only nourishes the heart and not the belly, so I work with my uncle as a bug assassin. Can I sit? Please, please. I ordered my second coffee and a torre special. A wide silence. What's your favorite course? Art history. No, 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 he said the way they do in Mexico, all the no's overflowing quickly, quickly, quickly like a fountain of champagne glasses. Horse, not course, and whinnied. Oh, horse? I don't know. Mr. Ed? Stupid, I didn't know any horses, but Flavio smiled anyway, the way he always would when I talked, as if admiring my teeth. So, what? Will you model? Yes, I'd pay you, of course. Do I have to take off my clothes? No, no, you just sit, or stand there, or do whatever. Just pose. I have a studio in the garage. You'll get paid just for looking like you do. Well, what kind of a story will I have to tell if I say no? He wrote his name for me on a paper napkin in a tight tangle of curly black letters. This is my uncle and aunt's number I'm giving you. I live with them. What's your name anyway? I said, twisting the napkin right side up. Flavio. Flavio Munguia Galindo. He said, to serve you. Flavio's family was so poor, and the best they hoped for their son was a job where he would keep his hands clean. How were they to know destiny would lead Flavio north to Corpus Christi as a dishwasher at a Luby's cafeteria? At least it was better than the month he'd work as a shrimper with his cousin in Port Isabel. He still couldn't look at a shrimp after that. You come home with your skin and clothes thinking of shrimp. You even start to sweat shrimp, you know. Your hand's a mess from the nicks and cuts that never get a chance to heal. The salt water gets in your gloves, stinging and blistering them raw. And how working in the shrimp processing factory is even worse. Snapping those damn sharp shrimp heads all day and the conveyor belt never ending. Your hands as soggy and swollen as ever, and your head about to split with the racket of the machinery. Fieldwork, he done that too. Cabbage, potatoes, onion. Potatoes is better than cabbage, and cabbage is better than onions. Potatoes is clean worked. He liked potatoes. In the fields in the spring, cool and pretty in the morning, you could think of lines of poetry as you worked. Think and think and think. Because they're just paying me for this, right? Showing me his stubby hands. Not this, touching his heart. But onions belong to dogs and the devil. The sax balloon behind you in the row you're working, snipping and trimming whiskers and greens, and you gotta work fast to make any money. Use very sharp shears, see? And your fingers get nicked time and time again, and how dirty it all makes you feel. The taste of onions and dust in your mouth, your eyes stinging, and the click-click-clicking of the shears in the fields and in your head long after you've come home and have had 2 beers. And that's when Flavio remembers his mother's parting wish. A job where your fingernails are clean, mijo. At least that. And he headed to Corpus and the Lubies. So when Flavio's uncle Roland asked him to come to San Antonio and help him out with his exterminating business, "You can learn a trade, a skill for life, always gonna be bugs," Flavio accepted. Even if the poisons and insecticides gave him headaches, even if he had to crawl under houses and occasionally rinse his hair with a garden hose after accidentally discovering a cat's favorite litter spot, even if now and again he saw things he didn't want to see, a possum, a rat, a snake, at least that was better than scraping chicken fried steak and mashed potatoes from plates, better than having to keep your hands all day in soapy water like a woman, only he used the word vieja, which is worse. I sent a Polaroid of the Woolsworths across from the Alamo to Beatriz Solis, a self-portrait of me having the Tuesday chili dog fries Coke $2.99 special at the snaky S-shaped lunch counter. Wrote on the back of a "Don't Mess with Texas" postcard, "Happy to report I'm working again, as in real work, not the job that feeds my habit, eating, but the thing that feeds the spirit. Come home, Raggedy asked. Mean, but damn, I'm painting. Every other Sunday. Kicking nalga looks like, or at least trying. Cuídate, girl. Abrazos, Lupe." So every other Sunday I drag my butt out of bed and into the garage studio to try to make some worth of my life. Flavio always there before me, like if he was the one painting me. What I liked best about working with Flavio were the stories. Sometimes while he was posing, we'd have storytelling competitions. Your favorite sadness, the ugliest food you ever ate, a horrible person. One that I remember was for the category, at last, justice. It was really his grandma's story, but he told it well. My grandma Chavela was from here, San Antonio I mean to say. She had 5 husbands, and the second one was called Fito, for Filiberto. They had my uncle Roland, who at the time of this story was 9 months old. They lived by the old farmer's market, over by Commerce and Santa Rosa, in a 2-room apartment. My grandma said she had beautiful dishes, an antique cabinet, a small table, 2 chairs, a stove, a lantern, a cedar chest full of embroidered tablecloths and towels, and a 3-piece bedroom set. And so one Sunday she felt like visiting her sister Eulalia, who lived on the other side of town. Her husband left $1 and change on the table for a trolley, kissed her goodbye, and left. My grandma meant to take along a bag of sweets because Eulalia was fond of Mexican candy, burnt milk bars, pecan brittle, sugared pumpkin, glazed orange rind, and those pretty coconut squares dyed red, white, and green like the Mexican flag, so sweet you can never finish them. So my grandma stopped at Mi Tierra Bakery. That's when she looks down the street, and who does she see but her husband kissing a woman? It looked as if their bodies were ironing each other's clothes, she said. My grandma waved at Fito. Fito waved at my grandma. Then my grandma walked back home with the baby, packed all her clothes, her set of beautiful dishes, her tablecloth and towels, and asked a neighbor to drive her to her sister Eulalia's. "Turn here. Turn there. What street are we on?" "It doesn't matter. Just do as I tell you." The next day Fito came looking for her at Eulalia's to explain to my grandma that the woman was just an old friend, someone he hadn't seen in a while, a long, long time. 3 days passed and my grandma Chavela, Eulalia, and baby Roland drove off to Cheyenne, Wyoming. They stayed there 14 years. Fito died in 1935 of cancer of the penis. I think it was syphilis. He used to manage a baseball team. He got hit in the crotch by a fastball. I was explaining yin and yang, how sexual harmony put one in communion with the infinite forces of nature. The earth is yin, see, female, while heaven is male and yang, and the interaction of the two constitutes the whole shebang. You can't have one without the other, otherwise shit is out of balance. Inhaling, exhaling, moon, sun, fire, water, man, woman, all complementary forces occur in pairs. "Ah," said Flavio, "like the Mexicano word sky-earth for the world." "Where the hell did you learn that? The Popol Vuh?" "No," Flavio said flatly. "My grandma Oralia." I said, "This is a powerful time we're living in. We have to let go of our present way of life and search for our past, remember our destiny, so to speak. Like the I Ching says, Returning to one's roots is returning to one's destiny. Flavio didn't say anything, just stared at his beer for what seemed a long time. You Americans have a strange way of thinking about time, he began. Before I could object to being lumped with the northern half of America, he went on. You think old ages end, but that's not so. It's ridiculous to think one age has overcome another. American time is running alongside the calendar of the sun, even if your world doesn't know it. Then, to add sting to the blow, he raised his beer bottle to his lips and added, well, what do I know, right? I'm just an exterminator. Flavio said, I don't know anything about this Tao business, but I believe love is always eternal, even if eternity is only 5 minutes. Flavio Munguia was coming for supper. I made a wonderful paella with brown rice and tofu and a pitcher of fresh sangria. Gypsy Kings were on the tape player. I wore my lycra mini, a pair of silver cowboy boots, and a fringed shawl across my tan skin like Carmen in that film by Carlos Saura. Over dinner, I talked about how I once had my aura massaged by an Oakland curandera, Afro-Brazilian dance as a means of spiritual healing, where I might find good dim sum in San Antonio, and whether a white woman had any right to claim to be an Indian shamaness. Flavio talked about how Alex El Güero from work had won a Sony boombox that morning just by being the 9th caller on 107 FM Que Suave, how his tia Tencha makes the best tripe soup ever, no lie, how before leaving Corpus he and Johnny Canales from El Show de Johnny Canales had been like this until a bet over Los Spookies left them not speaking to each other, how every Thursday night he works out at a gym on Calaveras with aims to build himself a body better than Mil Máscaras. And is there an English equivalent for the term La Fulana? We served Jerez and played Astor Piazzolla. Flavio said he preferred pure tango, classic and romantic like Gardel, not this cat-howling crap. He rolled back the Afghan rug, yanked me to my feet, demonstrated La Habanera, El Fandango, La Milonga, and explained how each had contributed to birth El Tango. Then he ran outside to his truck, the backs of his thighs grazing my knees as he edged past me and the Olanala coffee table. I felt all the hairs on my body sway as if I were an underwater plant and a current had set me in motion. Before I could steady myself, he was popping a cassette into the tape player, a soft crackling, then sugary notes rising like a blue satin banner held aloft by doves. Violin, violoncello, piano, salterio. Music from the time of my abuelos. My grandma taught me the dances, el chotis, cancan, los valses, all part of that lost epoch, he said. But that was long, long ago, before the time all the dogs were named after Woodrow Wilson. Don't you know any indigenous dances? I finally asked. Like el baile de los viejitos? Flavio rolled his eyes. That was the end of our dance lesson. Who dresses you? Silver. What's that, a store or a horse? Neither. Silver Galindo, my San Antonio cousin. What kind of a name is Silver? It's English, Flavio said, for Silvestre. I said, what you are, sweetheart, is the product of American imperialism, and plucked at the alligator on his shirt. I don't have to dress in a sarape and sombrero to be Mexican, Flavio said. I know who I am. I wanted to leap across the table, throw the Oaxacan black pottery pieces across the room, swing from the punch-tin chandelier, fire a pistol at his Reeboks, and force him to dance. I wanted to be Mexican at that moment, but it was true. I was not Mexican. Instead of the volley of insults I intended, all I managed to sling was a single clay pebble that dissolved on impact. Perro. Dog. It wasn't even the word I'd meant to hurl. You have, how do I say it, something I can't even put my finger on, some way of moving, of not moving, that belongs to no one but Flavio Munguia, as if your body and bones always remembered you were made by a God who loved you, the one Mama talked about in her stories. God made men by baking them in an oven, but he forgot about that first batch, and that's how black people were born. And then he was so anxious about the next batch, he took them out of the oven too soon, So that's how white people were made. But the third batch he let cook until they were golden, golden, golden. And honey, that's you and me. God made you from red clay, Flavio, with his hands. This face of yours like the little clay heads they unearthed in Teotihuacan. Pinch this cheekbone, then that. Used obsidian flints for the eyes, those eyes dark as the sacrificial wells they cast virgins into. Selected hair thick as cat whiskers. Thought for a long time before deciding on this nose, elegant and wide, and the mouth, everything silent and powerful and very proud kneaded into the mouth. And then he blessed you, Flavio, with skin sweet as burnt milk candy, smooth as river water. He made you bien pretty, even if I didn't always know it. Yes, he did. Romelia, forever. That's what his arm said. Forever Romelia in ink once black that had paled to blue. Romelia, Romelia, 7 thin blue letters the color of a vein. Romelia, said his forearm where the muscle swelled into a flat stone. Romelia, it trembled when he held me. Romelia, by the light of the votive lamp above the bed. But when I unbuttoned his shirt, a bannered cross above his left nipple murmured, Elsa. I'd never made love in Spanish before. I mean, not with anyone whose first language was Spanish. That was Crazy Graham, the anarchist labor organizer who taught me to eat jalapenos and swear like a truck mechanic, but he was Welsh and had learned his Spanish running guns to Bolivia. And Eddie, sure. But Eddie and I were products of our American education. Anything tender always came off sounding like the subtitles to a Buñuel film. But Flavio, when Flavio accidentally hammered his thumb, he never yelled, ouch! He said, ay! The true test of a native Spanish speaker. Ay, to make love in Spanish in a manner as intricate and devout as La Alhambra, to have a lover sigh, mi vida, mi preciosa, mi chiquitita, and whisper things in that language crooned to babies, that language murmured by grandmothers, those words that smelled like your house, like flour tortillas and the inside of your daddy's hat, like everyone talking in the kitchen at the same time, or sleeping with the windows open, like sneaking cashews from the crumpled quarter-pound bag Mama always hid in her lingerie drawer after she went shopping with Daddy at the Sears. That language, that sweep of palm leaves and fringed shawls, that startled fluttering, like the heart of a goldfinch or a fan. Nothing sounded dirty or hurtful or corny. How could I think of making love in English again? English with its starched R's and G's, English with its crisp linen syllables, English crunchy as apples, resilient and stiff as sailcloth. But Spanish word like silk, rolled and puckered and hissed. I held Flavio close to me, in the mouth of my heart, inside my wrists. Incredible happiness. A sigh unfurled of its own accord. A groan heaved out from my chest so rusty and full of dust it frightened me. I was crying. It surprised us both. My soul, did I hurt you? Flavio said in that other language. I managed to bunch my mouth into a knot and shake my head. No. Just as the next wave of sobs began, Flavio rocked me and cooed and rocked me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There, there, there. I wanted to say so many things, but all I could think of was a line I'd read in the letters of Georgia O'Keeffe years ago and had forgotten until then. Flavio, did you ever feel like flowers? We take my van and a beer. Flavio drives. Watching Flavio's profile, that beautiful Tarascan face of his, something that ought to be set in jade. We don't have to say anything the whole ride and it's fine. Just take turns sharing the one beer, back and forth, just looking at each other from the corner of the eye, just smiling from the corner of the mouth. What's happened to me? Flavio was just Flavio, a man I wouldn't have looked at twice before. But now anyone who reminds me of him, any baby with that same cane sugar skin, any moon-faced woman in line at the Handy Andy, or bag boy with tight hips carrying my groceries to the car, or child at the quick wash with ears as delicate as the whorls of a sea mollusk, I find myself looking at, lingering over, appreciating, henceforth and henceforth, forever and ever, ad infinitum. When I was with Eddie, we'd be making love. Then out of nowhere I would think of the black and white label on the tube of titanium yellow paint, or a plastic Mickey Mouse change purse I once had with crazy hypnotized eyes that blinked open shut when you wobbled it, or a little scar shaped like a mitten on the chin of a boy named Eliberto Briseño, whom I was madly in love with all through the 5th grade. But with Flavio, it's just the opposite. I might be working on a charcoal sketch, chewing on a pinch of a kneaded rubber eraser I've absent-mindedly put in my mouth, and then suddenly I'm thinking about the thickness of Flavio's earlobes between my teeth. Or a wisp of violet smoke might rise from someone's cigarette at the Bar America and remind me of that twist of sinew from wrist to elbow in Flavio's pretty arms. Or say Danny and Craig from Tienda Guadalupe Folk Art and Gifts are demonstrating how South American rain sticks work, and boom, there's Flavio's voice like the pool of the ocean when it drags everything with it back to its center, and that kind of gravelly charcoal and shell and glass rasp to it. Incredible. Taco Haven was crowded the way it always is Sunday mornings, full of grandmothers and babies in their good clothes, boys with hair still wet from the morning bath, big husbands in tight shirts, and rowdy mamas slapping rude children to public decency. 3 security guards were vacating my window booth, and we grabbed it. Flavio ordered chilaquiles, and I ordered breakfast tacos. We asked for quarters for the jukebox, same as always. 5 songs, 50 cents. I punched 132. All my exes live in Texas. George Strait. 140. Soy infeliz. Lola Beltran. 233. Polvo y olvido. Lucha Villa. 118. Mal hombre. Lidia Mendoza. And number 167. La Movidita. Because I knew Flavio loved Flaco Jimenez. Flavio was no more quiet than usual, but midway through breakfast he announced, "My life, I have to go." "We just got here." "No, I mean me. I must go. To Mexico." "What are you talking about?" "My mother wrote me. I have compromises to attend to." "But you're coming back, right?" "Only destiny knows." A red dog with stiff fur tottered by the curb. "What are you trying to tell me?" "The same red color as a cocoa doormat or those wooden-handled scrub brushes you buy at the Winds." "I mean I have family obligations." There was a long pause. You could tell the dog was real sick. Big bald patches, gummy eyes that bled like grapes. "My mother writes that my sons..." "Sons? How many?" "4 from my first, 3 from my second." "First? Second? What? Marriages?" "No, only one marriage. The other doesn't count since we weren't married in a church." "Christ-o-matic." Really, it made you sick to look at the thing, hoppling about like that in jerky steps as if it were dancing backward and had only 3 legs. "But this has nothing to do with you, Lupe. Look, you love your mother and your father, don't you?" The dog was eating something, jaws working in spasmodic gulps. A bean and cheese taco, I think. "Loving one person doesn't take away from loving another. It's that way with me, love. One has nothing to do with the other. In all seriousness, and with all my heart, I tell you this, Lupe." Somebody must have felt sorry for it and tossed it a last meal, but the kind thing would have been to shoot it. "So that's how it is. There is no other remedy. La yin y el yang, you know," Flavio said, and meant it. "Well, yeah," I said. And then because my Torre special felt like it wanted to rise from my belly, "I think you better go now. I gotta get my clothes out of the dryer before they get wrinkled." "Es cool," Flavio said, sliding out of the booth in my life. "Ay, te guacho, I guess." I looked for my rose quartz crystal and visualized healing energy surrounding me. I lit copal and burned sage to purify the house. I put on a tape of Amazon flutes, Tibetan songs, and Aztec ocarinas. Tried to center on my 7 chakras and thought only positive thoughts, expressions of love, compassion, forgiveness. But after 40 minutes, I still had an uncontrollable desire to drive over to Fabio Munguia's house with my grandmother's molcajete and bash in his skull. What kills me is your silence, so certain, so solid. Not a note, nor a postcard, not a phone call, no number I could reach you at, no address I could write to, neither yes nor no, just the void. The day's raw and wide as this drab blue sky, just this nothingness. That's what hurts. Nothing wants to take break from the eyes. When you're a kid, it's easy. You take one wooden step out in the hall dark and wait. In the hallway of every house we ever lived in, smelling of pine sol and dirty looking no matter how many Saturdays we scrubbed it. Chipped paint and ugly nicks and craters in the walls from a century of bikes and kids' shoes and downstairs tenants. The handwriting old and never beautiful. Not even the day was new, I bet. Darkness soaked in the plaster and wood when the house was divided into apartments. Dust balls and hair in the corners where the broom didn't reach. And now and then, a mouse squeaking. How I let the sounds, dark and full of dust and hairs, out of my throat and eyes. That sound mixed with spit and coughing and hiccups and bubbles of snot, and the seed trickling out of my eyes, as if I'd always carried it inside me, like a seashell waiting to be cupped to an ear. These days we run from the sun, cross the street quick, get under an awning, carry an umbrella like tightrope walkers. Red, white, and blue flowered nylon, beige with green and red stripes, faded maroon with an amber handle, bus ladies slouched and fanning themselves with a newspaper and a bandana. Bad news. The sky is blue again today, and will be blue again tomorrow. Herd of clouds big as longhorns passing mighty and gazing low. Heat like a husband asleep beside you, like someone breathing in your ear who you just want to shove once, good and hard, and say, "Quit it." When I was doing collages, I bought a few powders from Casa Preciado Religious Articles, the Mexican voodoo shop on South Laredo. I remember I'd picked Te tengo amarrado y claveteado and regresa a mí just for the wrapper. But I found myself hunting around for them this morning, and when I couldn't find them, making a special trip back to that store that smells of chamomile and black bananas. The votive candles are arranged like so. Church-sanctioned powers on one aisle, San Martín de Porres, Santo Niño de Atocha, El Sagrado Corazón, La Divina Providencia, Nuestra Señora de San Juan de los Lagos. Folk powers on another, El Gran General Pancho Villa, Ajo Macho / Garlic Macho, La Santísima Muerte / Blessed Death, Bingo Luck, Law Stay Away, Court case double strength. Back to back, so as not to offend maybe. I chose a Yo Puedo Más Que Tú from the pagan side and a Virgen de Guadalupe from the Christian. Magic oils, magic perfumes and soaps, votive candles, milagritos, holy cards, magnet car statuettes, plaster saints with eyelashes made from human hair, San Martín Caballero, good luck horseshoes, incense and copal, aloe vera bunched, blessed, bound with red string and pinned above a door, herbs stocked from floor to ceiling in labeled drawers, aguacate, albahaca, altamisa, anacuajite, barbas de elote, cedrón de castillo, coyote, yarasquilla, chocolate de indio, eucalipto, flor de acocotillo, flor de azahar, flor de mimbre, flor de tila, flor de cempoal, hierbabuena, hormiga, huizache, manzanilla, marrubio, mirto, nogal, palo azul, pasmo, pata de vaca, pionía, pirul, ratón, tepozán, víbora, zapote blanco, zarzamora. Snake, rat, ant, coyote, cowhoof. Were there actually dead animals tucked in a drawer? A skin wrapped in tissue paper, a dried ear, a paper cone of shriveled black alphabets, a bone ground to crystals in a baby food jar? Or were they just herbs that looked like the animal? These candles and yerbas and stuff, do they really work? The sisters Preciado pointed to a sign above their altar to Our Lady of the Remedies. Vendemos, no hacemos recetas. We sell, we don't prescribe. I can be brave in the day, but nights are my Gethsemane, that pinch of the dog's teeth just as it nips. A mean South American itch somewhere I can't reach. The little hurricane of bathwater just before it slips inside the drain. Seems like the world is spinning smooth without a bump or squeak except when love comes in. Then the whole machine just quits like a loud load of wash on imbalance, the buzzer singing to high heaven, the danger light flashing. Not true. The world has always turned with its trail of tin cans rattling behind it. I have always been in love with a man. Everything's like it was, except for this. When I look in the mirror, I'm ugly. How come I never noticed before? I was having sopa tarasca at El Mirador and reading Dear Abby, a letter from Too Late, who wrote now that his father was dead. He was sorry he had never asked his forgiveness for having hurt him. He'd never told his father, I love you. I pushed my bowl of soup away and blew my nose with my paper napkin. I'd never asked Flavio forgiveness for having hurt him. And yes, I'd never said, I love you. I'd never said it. The words rattled in my head like curacas in the bamboo. For weeks I lived with those two regrets like twin grains of sand embedded in my oyster heart, until one night listening to Carlos Gardel sing, Life is an absurd wound, I realized I had it wrong. Oh. Today the Weber kettle in the backyard finally quit. 3 days of thin white smoke like kite string. I'd stuffed in all of Flavio's letters and poems and photos and cards and all the sketches and studies I'd ever done of him, then lit a match. I didn't expect paper to take so long to burn, but it was a lot of layers. I had to keep poking it with a stick. I did save one poem, the last one he gave me before he left. Pretty in Spanish, but you'll have to take my word for it. In English, it just sounds goofy. The smell of paint was giving me headaches, and I couldn't bring myself to look at my canvases. I turned on the TV, the Galavisión channel, told myself I was looking for old Mexican movies, Maria Felix, Jorge Negrete, Pedro Infante, anything, please, where somebody's singing on a horse. And after a few days, I'm watching the telenovelas, avoiding board meetings, rushing home from work, stopping at Torres Taco Haven on the way and buying taquitos to go, just so I could be seated in front of the screen in time to catch Rosa Salvaje with Veronica Castro as the savage rose of the title, or Daniela Romo in Balada por un Amor, or Adela Noriega in Dulce Desafío. I watched them all in the name of research. I started dreaming of these Rosas and Briandas and Luceros, and in my dreams I'm slapping the heroine to her senses because I want them to be women who make things happen, not women who things happen to, not loves that are tormentosos, not men powerful and passionate versus women either volatile and evil or sweet and resigned, but women, real women, the ones I've loved all my life. If you don't like it, lárgate, honey. Those women, the ones I've known everywhere except on TV, in books and magazines, las girlfriends, las comadres, our mamas and tias, passionate and powerful, tender and volatile, brave, and, above all, fierce. Bien pretty, your shawl. You didn't buy it in San Antonio? Centeno's Mexican supermarket. The cashier was talking to me. No, it's Peruvian. I think I bought it in Santa Fe or New York. I don't remember. Get cute. You look real mona. Plastic hair combs with fringy flowers. purple blouse crocheted out of shiny yarn, not tucked but worn over her jeans to hide a big stomach. I know, I do the same thing. She's my age but looks old, tired. Never mind the red lips, the eye makeup that just makes her look sad. Those creases from the corner of the lip to the wing of the nostril from holding in anger, or tears, or both. She's the one ringing up my vanidades. Extraordinary issue. Julio confesses he's looking for love. Still daddy's girl? Liberate yourself. 15 ways to say I love you with your eyes. The incredible wedding of Argentine soccer star Maradona. It cost $3 million US. Summer by the Sea, a complete novel by Corín Tellado. Libertad Palomares, she said, looking at the cover. Amar es vivir, I answered automatically as if it were my motto. Libertad Palomares, a big Venezuelan telenovela star, big on crying. Every episode she weeps like a Magdalene. Not me. I couldn't cry if my life depended on it. Right? She works her part real good. I never miss an episode. That was the truth. Me neither. Si Dios quiere, I'm going to get home in time today to watch it. It's getting good. Looks like it's going to finish pretty soon. Hope not. How much is this? I might buy one too. $3.50? Bien expensive. Maybe once, or maybe never. Maybe each time someone asks, wanna dance at Club Fandango? Oh, for a Saturday night at Hacienda Sala's party house on South Mission Road. Or Lerma's night spot on Zarzamora. Making eyes at Ricky's Poco Loco Club or El Taconazo Lounge. Or maybe, like in my case, in my garage making art. Amar es vivir. What it comes down to for that woman at Centeno's and for me. It was enough to keep us tuning in every day at 6:30. Another episode, another thrill. To relive that living when the universe ran through the blood like river water. Alive. Not the week spent writing grand proposals. Not the 40 hours standing behind a cash register shoving cans of refried beans into plastic sacks. Hell no. This wasn't what we were put on the planet for. Not ever. Not Lola Beltran sobbing soy infeliz into her 4 cervezas, but Daniela Romo singing Ya no, es verdad que te adoro, pero más adoro yo. I love you, honey, but I love me more. One way or another, even if it's only the lyrics to a stupid pop hit, we're going to right the world and live. I mean live our lives the way lives were meant to be lived, with a throat and wrists, with rage and desire and joy and grief and love till it hurts, maybe. But goddamn, girl, live. Went back to the twin volcano painting, got a good idea and redid the whole thing. Prince Popo and Princess Ixta trade places. After all, who's to say the sleeping mountain isn't the prince and the voyeur the princess, right? So I've done it my way, with Prince Popocatépetl lying on his back instead of the princess. Of course, I had to make some anatomical adjustments in order to simulate the geographical silhouettes. I think I'm going to call it El Pipi del Popo. I kind of like it. Everywhere I go, it's me and me. Half of me living my life, the other half watching me live it. Here it is, January already. Sky wide as an ocean, shark-belly grays for days at a time. Then all at once a blue so tender, you can't remember how only months before the heat split you open like a pecan shell. Can't remember anything anymore. Every sunset I find myself rushing, cleaning the brushes, hurrying, my footsteps giving a light tap on each rung up the aluminum ladder to the garage roof. Because urracas are arriving by the thousands from all directions and settling in the river trees. Trees leafless as sea anemones in this season, and the birds in their branches dark and distinct as treble clefs, very crisp and noble and clean, as if someone had cut them out of black paper with sharp scissors and glued them with library paste. Urracas, grackles, urracas, different ways of looking at the same bird. City calls them grackles, but I prefer urracas, that roll of the R making all the difference. Urracas, then big as crows, shiny as ravens, swooping and whooping it up like drunks at fiesta. Urracas giving a sharp cry, a slippery rise up the scales, a quick stroke across a violin string, and then a splintery whistle that they loop and lasso from that box in their throat, and spit and cheer up and chook, chook chook, chook chook. Here and there, a handful of starlings tossed across the sky, all swooping in one direction, then another explosion of starlings very far away, like pepper, wind rattling pecans from the trees, donk donk, like bad kids throwing rocks at your house, the damp smell of the earth, the same smell of tea boiling, hurracas, curving, descending on treetops, wide wings against blue, branch tips trembling when they land, quivering when they take off again, those at the crown devoutly facing one direction toward a private Mecca, and other character members often running, high, high up, some swooping in one direction, and others crisscrossing, like marching bands at halftime. This swoop never bumping into that. Hurracas closer to earth, starlings higher up because they're smaller, every day, every sunset, and no one noticing except to look at the ground and say, "Who's gonna clean up this shit?" All the while the sky is throbbing, blue, violet, peach, not holding still for 1 second. The sun setting and setting, all the light in the world soft as nacre, a canaleto, an apricot, an earlobe, and every bird in the universe chittering, jabbering, clucking, chirruping, squawking, gurgling, going crazy because God bless it, another day has ended, as if it never had yesterday and never will again tomorrow, just because it's today, today, with no thought of future or past. Today. Hooray! Hooray! Dun dun.